Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sport. I'm joined here by Jamie Davies, Mexico superfan, as we preview Denmark versus Mexico ahead of the game this Saturday. Hello, Jamie.
How you doing? Altri Army.
So, obviously, Mexico play Denmark this Saturday. What sort of game do you expect it to be? How do you reckon the teams will line up?
It's going to be an interesting one because both teams are, in my eyes, in the same ranks ahead of the World Cup. They're both countries who would be happy to just get out the group stages. I think for them getting to the knockout stages will be fantastic for them. Denmark, they weren't in the last World Cup, and they weren't. And the last World Cup was in 2010, so it's been a fair while for them to experience a major tournament. So it's good to see them back. But looking at their group, I mean, they got France, Peru, and Australia. That's going to be on and off for them. I think they could go through actually. But then when you look at Mexico, their team's very weak at the moment. So it's going to be an interesting game. There won't be many goals in it, but we'll find out on Saturday.
So Mexico's last two games were a 0-0 draw with Wales and then a 1-0, now a 1-0 win against Scotland. So obviously doesn't look good on paper.
No.
But how did they perform during those games? Because scorelines could be deceiving.
I mean, the Wales result was fantastic for Wales because Mexico, they attacked more than Wales did from the 90 minutes, but Ryan Giggs played a very young squad. Obviously, there's no Gareth Bale or anyone there because they're not playing. They're not warming up for a major tournament. Sadly for Wales, but they played really well. They looked promising. You know, in a stadium where there's 80,000 plus. You know, Estadio Azteca is known as like the new camp. You can't hear anything in that stadium, and even atmospheres in anywhere in Mexico, like the Mexico Grand Prix, it's absolutely crazy. So for them to go and get a result like that, a draw, is a fantastic result. For Mexico, it's not looking good for the warm-ups. The result against Scotland, well, okay, they won, but you know this is Alex McLeish's Scotland manager, so you know I don't think he's exactly going to push Scotland to the major tournaments in the future. In my eyes, he's just there to do the job again. I think for Mexico and overall in that match, Giovanni Dos Santos had to score from outside the box. It was a great finish. He couldn't stop it. It was a nice low finish into the bottom right corner. And I think that just sums up Mexico because we're relying on the wingers to do it for us. There's nobody really up front at the moment. There's still Hernandez. There's still Peralta. But they've had poor seasons for their clubs. Peralta has always been the good super sub in the past, but even for his club at the moment, he's been pretty dreadful. And Hernandez, well, we know what he's been like at West Ham United, just like Marko Arnautovic there, a disaster waiting to happen. But, you know, when they're at United, they do very well, sadly.
So we look at Mexico's group. They've got Germany, South Korea and Sweden. So some very difficult teams in there. Who do you reckon's the standout opponents in this group, and how do you reckon they'll do against each team?
Obviously that's got to be a rhetorical question. It's Germany, isn't it? It's Germany. Funny enough, Mexico's last game in Russia was in the Confederations Cup against Germany, and they lost 4-1, I think it was, or 5-1. And 12 months on, they're coming back to Russia to play against Germany again, and I'm a bit worried. I think Germany are one of the teams to beat again for the World Cup. I don't know if they'll go on to win, but we all know what they're like. They get to the semi-finals. Whether or not they make the final and do it, we will find out come July. But for Mexico, for that opening game, if they lose, they lose. But South Korea and Sweden, they're hit and miss. I don't know what they're going to do in those games. I don't know much about Korea. I don't know much about Sweden's team, to be honest with you. South Korea have always made the World Cup because, let's be honest, they're in a region where there's not really much opponents for them to make the World Cup, so that's why they're there. For Sweden, it's on and off for the European one. But I think Germany will thrash Mexico, as much as I hate to say it. Come the next two games, they're must-wins for Mexico, if that is to be the case. But what I said about earlier, last summer, when Mexico played against Germany, the defence was incredibly slow. It was simple errors, stuff like when they went into the penalty area, they weren't even marking anyone. There was 2 German players and 4 Mexico defenders. None of them decided to follow any of the strikers, and then they lost 4-1. They were 3-0 down after half an hour of the game, so they already pretty much were out. And I think since Mexico haven't really changed their defenders since the last tournament, okay, we'll talk about him in a minute. Rafael Marquez, I think it's, as much as I love Rafael Marquez, who is a Mexico legend, he is the biggest Mexico legend of all time. Blanco comes second. But it's so sad that the country is relying on him to turn up again at his 5th ever World Cup. I don't know if anyone else has ever done that. Has any other player been to more than 5 World Cups. I'd love to see that.
Let us know in the comments below if you do know that.
I don't know anyone at all, but him coming back, I think it's more just for the exposure for the squad and maybe for the posters back in Mexico. I don't know, but I don't think he'll even start for them. So we'll find out. But that group is a hit and miss for Mexico.
So in this game, what tactics do you reckon Mexico and the Danes will deploy?
Well, as I said, I don't know much about Denmark's team. I only know the likes of Christian Eriksen, as you mentioned before, Kasper Schmeichel. I forgot is actually one of their main keepers, but I don't know what Mexico approach will be, because in the last 2 games they have been attack, but then when they've been playing from the wings, it's just not turned out great for them. Guardado is their best player in midfield. He's got the experience. I think he's 31 now or 29. I can't believe how quickly old he's got actually, but he is our best player. And I think depending on whether Hernandez starts or maybe Peralta, because they always play with one striker up front normally, so we'll find out there. But I think for Mexico, they'll just have to try and get a good result out of this. I don't know whether it's being played. I'd imagine this game is being played in Europe, because this will be days before both countries play their first ever World Cup game. So I'd be very surprised if it was in Estadio Azteca. I just think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very, very low goal scoring affair. But I wouldn't be surprised if Denmark came out on top, maybe 1-0. That's what I think is going to happen anyway.
So Jamie's going for a 1-0 win to Denmark. So thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, notifications, subscribe, follow the social media channels. Thank you for watching.